Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. Yesterday we started our work on our event handler, and it's basically just a way to script events in our game, right? So like we need to be able to say, hey, let's dispatch the opening cinematic, and it'll place the current scene, it'll place any NPCs in place, it'll limit player movement, it'll do a bunch of different stuff. So we're working on defining this event handler that'll kind of at least be able to, you know, we need to print up values to know it's working right. So like we're trying to pass in delta time so we know we can update entities over time, but we're not able to see delta time just yet. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that dispatcher working where we can kind of debug certain stuff. So we have, you know, instead of clogging up our play state with all these event dispatches, I set up this event manager.lua, and it's just a global Lua table or a global Lua file that has all of these event definitions. So we're saying, and let's do this here where we say we pass in delta time to our event test, and then we're trying to put in the delta time variable onto screen to make sure that that is getting passed in, and we'll pass in delta time here in our play state. So the idea being like in our, yo, what up, K-Tron? It is early. It is Valentine's, so I'm trying to wrap up before the evening hits. And luckily work ended a little early today, so I was able to hop on early. How are you doing, man? I know it's been late for me streaming normally, so yeah, this is like the earliest I've maybe ever streamed. Okay, so we're dispatching this event test. We're passing in delta time, and here is the event test. You know, we have an event dispatch and an event on, which will run this thing, and all we're doing is returning data. We're returning a table of data that we initialize this event listener for. So I kind of want to set like a little timer, because I don't know exactly how. Oh, nice, dude. Hey, good luck. Good luck with that. We're going to increment our event timer here, and we're going to try to only dispatch the event if our event timer is greater than, let's say, 2 seconds. Then we're going to dispatch our event test. Now, event test, when we dispatch this, it will return. What up, Squinch? What up? Yeah, exactly, K-Chan. That's the way to do it. We're going to dispatch this event test, which should return this table of data. It's just a couple of test values. It's a string called name that has testing, and then a test data, which is a table of just 1, 2, 3. So when we go to, you know, we're trying to, and this is where the issue is, right? Like we can't just dig down into the event and pull out these values because it's an actual function. So we're able to see the current values only because we're doing this hacky kind of event handlers at key event test callback function, and then we're printing up those values. So I think this is why it's wrong. So what we'll do instead is, well, let's just see after 2 seconds. See, it shouldn't do this. It should only do this. Yeah, you know what? Let's just get rid of this. So our event, what I think I want to try to do is we'll just have a event test global table just for us, you know, just for testing, right? We're just going to say that there's a global table called event test, and we're going to insert into event test all of the values here. And this should, this would update over time, and actually a table.insert would only insert and never remove. So instead of this actually returning anything, all we're going to do is insert these values into our event test table, and then I think we're in a window over here. We're looking for right here. Okay, so instead of doing this stuff, I think what we want to do is just we'll cycle through all of the event test, the global event test table. And what we'll do is we'll have this starting Y, and then we will print the value that is in each variable, and then at the starting Y, then we increase our starting Y just to give us a new line, and then we don't need this callback attempt here, so all we're doing is cycling through our event test table and printing up the value there. So I'm hoping after 2 seconds we'll get on screen global pair. Hoping after 2 seconds we'll get a table on screen of this event test. Okay, not quite. Delta time is 100. Oh, you know what? Did we screw something up here? I think we might have done these file changes on a... Let me see. We don't have our event timer. Wow, what the heck? I swear we wrote this, yeah. That's jacked up. Okay, so all we're going to do is increment this event timer. If our event timer greater than 2 seconds, then we're going to go ahead and dispatch this event test. And we're going to pass in delta time and make sure that's getting passed through the event dispatcher. And then we declare the empty event test, so it should be empty for 2 seconds, and then we're looking to get values. Nice. So delta time's coming in. Now exactly what I was talking about with the insertion. So we're going to print our event test, and then we're just going to flush our event test just so we only have the current frame's data. So after 2 seconds, we're getting delta time passed in through our event dispatcher. So that's looking right. And we've got, there's probably a better way to do it than, well, no, the string concatenation is fine because this is just for debugging, right? So like, we want to be able to say, like let's say our event test that we're changing to is just going to modify some of our game's values, like our current scene, our current map, that sort of thing. So like maybe what we can do if we play the game right now and hit L for load, we load over here on this screen. So let's see if we can just load our character based on the event dispatcher, and that will kind of start to prove that, hey, we can load in a new scene, still have access to delta time, and then we could think about bigger design decisions about like, do we update the play state if we're in an event dispatch, or do we prohibit players' input from doing anything in an event dispatch? We have to kind of think these decisions through or figure out how we're going to plan this out so we can have multiple different types of events. So like an event might be play the opening cinematic or warp to a flashback cutscene or pause the player while it plays a sound effect and then resumes player's ability to walk. So like little stuff like that. So let's try here. I think I just want to try to load the player. But the thing is, our player's save utility is where? Is it part of our player? I don't remember. Save or load player data. It's a save utility and we just load it. Okay, so we'd have to kind of have access to it. Okay. Now if we look at our save data utility over here, where is it? Okay. Okay, well, instead of doing this, because we don't need the save data utility in there, all we need to do is what the load player data does, and then we just need to do that. So I think if we dig into the save data class, we can find out what load player data does. So let's just try to do what load player does if this event is dispatched, and that'll be our first test. So on event test, we're going to go refresh our player's animation. We're going to set our current map and our map row based on the global variables, then reset the current map. Where is this dot load? Load. Oh, it's bits or love dump. Okay. Sweet. So let's try that. So after 2 seconds, we should load our game. It did, it just didn't put us in meditate mode for some reason. Is our player meditate true on this? Yeah, it really should. Yeah, I guess we aren't setting our player meditate to true here. But this is reassuring. We just loaded a different game or a different scene, right? We're still not meditating. You know, we're stuck as if we're meditating. That's not great. Oh, and you know what? It's because we keep dispatching it. Yeah, because we keep dispatching it. I don't know why that would wake us up, but maybe, you know, we'd have to say when we go to this event dispatch here. Yeah, let's say once we dispatch it, we're just going to set our event timer to be equal to a negative number so that we only dispatch it once, and then we'll see if that fixes the meditation bug. 1, 2, and it fixes us able to walk around and stuff, but it does not turn us into meditating. So where is that? Like, now I'm just curious. That's like when we do that. Player meditate is the state machine. Oh, it's the state machine change. It's not a Boolean field. So we do this current animation refresh. So if we change, I guess it is a state machine. Change to player meditate. We'll see after 2 seconds if we meditate. Nice. Okay, that's working. Okay, so we must be changing the state once we trigger the game over or something. So it wasn't working when we just loaded our player, but that looks right. So this is really cool. Like you know, we have this event test and we're dispatching it upon a certain thing. So okay, so this is cool. We're able to pass in delta time to our event handler. We're able to change the game. You know, we can it's important that this can do things like change the current map, and it can also modify the tables of the NPCs and anything. So like once we changed the scene, the NPC was there because the NPC was inserted into the scene already in the map declarations. So if we wanted to do a opening credits dispatch, right, we would put we can say, change to intro cinematic, load us at the correct scene, load whatever correct entity we need there, and in this event on, this function takes in delta time, so anything we want to change, we can probably change. So okay, so here's an issue. Because we'd only dispatch the thing once, right? Like we say like, oh, we're starting the game. If it's a new game, let's dispatch the opening cinematic. But then how do we modify the player based on delta time if we've only dispatched it once? Because the dispatch just kind of reset our game to be a different location. But we need a kind of, this event on hopefully could, it's almost like it needs to be its own game loop, right? Of an init and then an update and a render. Because right now it can't take any render logic or anything, and it can't take any specific update. Like we have access to delta time on the very frame we dispatch, but that doesn't help us much, because we need access to it over time, because we need time for the player to advance through the dialogue pages, right, of whatever we put on there. So I'm trying to think about what we can do for that. Yeah, it's almost like instead of the event dispatcher, we might just need a different state, a different state machine. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking we need another state machine, because we need to be able to do specific. It's tough because the game, in order to render the scene and stuff, we have all of this specific logic for going through, cycling through the tile IDs, rendering all that stuff. So it kind of doesn't make sense to have a state machine that we have to recreate all of that render logic for any given scene. So I don't know what this involves. Because if this event is dispatched, right, it's like we have access to a growing delta time, but it's just that all of these things get triggered 60 times a second. We don't want to set, it locked in our player's X and Y position because we are assigning an X and Y for our player coordinates here. So I don't like the idea of assigning these coordinates before we dispatch the event, but that might be what we have to do, so that we can still update. Because it's tough too, thinking about like if we have to do the outfits in a event dispatch too, but yeah, basically what this event dispatcher is doing is just like changing some data in our game, and then our play state's rendering like normal. We're not paused. But maybe we can try. Yeah. Let's try to just mess around with this a little bit with like we have this event test dispatch, and let's say that we're gonna set Yo, where are we setting our players' coordinates here? V1 and V2. That is just... What values are those even? The value of our load. Okay. Yeah. Let's see, uh-oh. What just happened? Okay. So I think what we're gonna try is like, let's remove the X reassignment, because anything that locks in behavior can't be in the event update, because this event dispatcher is updating over time. So if we want to be able to keep all of our game's logic of like rendering the maps and stuff the way we currently are, we'd have to kind of manually set our coordinates or whatever here. So let's say for right now, let's say that our players X and Y is just 3216, and our direction is down, and then we dispatch. Let's see. Okay, so we're able to do this, and then we're, if we were to say let's stop resetting our timer so that we're currently dispatching everything. Let's see, we load. We're still locked because we're changing to a player meditate state. So we'd have to have, see, I don't know, this is feeling weird, because if we have to do this, you know, ideally our whatever event we dispatch would know what all these things are, instead of us having to declare them and then dispatch. But this is still kind of figuring out what the shape of this might look like. Man, yeah, we're still, yeah, it's because we're changing this over and over to player meditate, and player meditate doesn't allow movement. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking we might have to, I don't know, we got to do something different. You know, we have to see if there's a way to add the update function to our event dispatch. Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so okay. So yeah, part of me thinks we should just make a state machine to hold any of these dispatches or any of these events. That way we have our own init function, we have our own update function and render. But then the other part of me is like, well, if we have to have a state machine for every single scripted event, it's like a lot of bit wasteful to kind of, well, I don't know, because we could turn a, you know, we can export like a global function for rendering any of these event things, so that we can just say, okay, well, let's render event in our render function, And then we would just define whatever we need in our update. Let me see if there's... Because I see pros and cons to keeping it in the event manager, but I don't know, thinking about, all I tried to do was like change our player's meditated location or whatever when we try to do this in the event manager, and we can't easily do it, so I think we might need something else. Yeah, I don't know what we should try to do, because it looks like our event manager here just does this event on, so it's like once we dispatch it, then it'll just do this thing. And since we're dispatching it only once, we don't have a way to update whatever these values are. Yeah, see, I liked the idea of this event manager, because then we just have like a big ass file where we're kind of managing all the scripted events. I don't think I like the idea that we have our own state machine for any scripted event. I mean, I guess it would make it easier to search and stuff. So maybe we do go this way. I mean, the other thing is it a state machine for the game, or is it a state machine for the player? No, yeah, it'd have to be for the game. Like, instead of going to play state, it would go to a special state that could inherit. See, there's so many different things, because it's like, if we do the event dispatch, we stay in the play state, and we have access to all those global variables, so that we're able to just load whatever scene very easily, like we are right now. We're able to dispatch it fine. It's just that we don't have a way to kind of do custom logic, like let's make it paused, or let's add a specific animation for an NPC. We don't have an easy way to do that without bogging down our play state. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me wants to just like look at some people's code bases and see how they do it, how they handle this with Love2d, you know? I've never done anything like this, so I don't really have a frame of reference to kind of think about it. If there's a way we can treat this event dispatch as if it's a base state, like where we can say, well, on the event on, we become paused, and then we update players X to be getting smaller, so it moves up or whatever. If we can have this dispatch, well, yeah, we need an init and an update. So can we do a love.load in this function? I don't know. So we do have, it looks like the knife library does event on init, event on update, event on render. Yeah, I don't know. I think we'd have to kind of do this manually. So before we trigger or before we dispatch, we can say event on init and then just run that init function. And then on our dispatch, maybe we'd have to say I don't know. We could, you know, because at the end of the day, we'd have to pass in delta time to this event, this specific event. I don't know how this works. Yeah, but then, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it too, we don't have access to a love.draw in our event either, so we can't really handle specific rendering things. I guess that's okay because we don't, well, gosh. Yeah, this is a big complex thing we're trying to add here, so yeah, I'm thinking we might need our own change for the state machine to do this. I mean, we could, well, yeah, I'm kind of thinking we might just need to go with custom state machines instead of this dispatch. We could potentially tidy up some of the other code using event dispatches more. But I'm not sure it makes the most sense for our scripted events. Yeah, I might just have to think about this more because it's just not working with this event dispatcher. Now maybe, I don't know, part of me thinks we still can do this init and update. Because if we don't have any specific, we'll see. And then what's tough is like, if we want a cinematic to have like custom animation, custom artwork, or custom sprites, or unique sprites that don't exist in the play state, or unique particle systems that don't exist in the play state, we would need an ability to be able to not only define those things but render them. And there's no love.draw in the event dispatcher. I guess let's test if we can add our own love.draw. I don't know, that feels really hacky to me. But basically we can define in a init function, an update function, and a render function in our event on, and then we can do our how would we trigger which function to run from our global event. Is like I read the knife documentation a little bit yesterday, and they were saying how it kind of gets queued. So like if we have this event dispatch and there's more than one event dispatch, it kind of goes from first in, last out, or first in. I think it was, I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough thing to try to wrap my head around. Yeah, I think the cons of doing the state machine is that we'd have to not only pass all this data, we'd have to pass a shitload of data through our state machine so that we would know what scene are we on, what player is equipped, or what's the location of the player, what's the everything. We'd have to pass in everything to that state machine and then we'd have to remake the render function for all of the tiles and the layers for the tiles and the player render and the everything. Yeah, I'm a little torn because I still think, I don't know, I think we can make the dispatcher work and just update, all we do is initialize the things that don't change first, and then we update anything that can and does change, and then we render the state, which our play state's already doing. It's rendering all that specific stuff, but we'd have to be able to add specific render stuff to our event manager, because if we have like a special particle system in a cutscene, we would need a way to define it and then render it, even though our play state doesn't have access to that particle machine, so particle system. Okay. So maybe there's a way we can say, because we want to be able to say, oh crap. We'd want to be able to say like, let's dispatch our event, and then see, and I guess it's hard to imagine, because it's like, I don't know what the event dispatcher is actually doing under the hood. Like, is all the events that are currently dispatched being updated with delta time over time? Like, let's see if right now we're only dispatching it once, but we aren't rendering anything. So it's like, I want to render the delta time that this got at. Well, this would only be Yeah, I'm pretty sure all this does is run at once. So it's going to say event.dispatch, and then it's going to go to the event test on, and once it gets dispatched, all it does is just run this stuff once, if we call it once. I'm pretty sure that's all that's happening. So we need a way to say if the event dispatch is essentially our init, right? So like if condition for dispatching is true, let's go ahead and dispatch, and then we would have to render any current I don't know. We have to update any event that's currently dispatched, right? So like, do we have a list of all of the dispatches, and then we have an ability to pass delta time to them into a specific update function? Maybe we can let's look at the documentation again real quick and see, because I know there's a event handler and I don't know. I think it's really for simpler things, It's kind of just like a very simple way to kind of just handle a little bit of things. It's not great for handling a bunch of complex behavior. How do other games do this? Like, do they just define a bunch of state machine for all the different scripted sequences? Because I don't like that idea. I don't like thinking that we have like a scripted events folder and there's thousands of state machine objects in there. I don't think I like that. Then I guess the alternative, we were just going to build out one file called event manager and just define them by string names and keys. So I guess that's not much better. Okay, so I think we're going to go with the state machine approach, because we need to be able to do complex things like, well, see, and what really sucks is like almost all of our special logic, both for our keyboard input and touch control, is all in the play state. So if we change our state, then we don't, well, I guess the scripted events don't need the input handling anyway. It's just like special input handling to like advance a dialog box, if there is one. Okay. That might make sense to have the, man, I don't know. It sounds weird to have hundreds of scripted events as their own state machine. But I can imagine that there's a way we can just essentially render what's currently in our play state, which is like, let's render the ground level tiles, then the above ground, then the top level, or then the player, then the top level. Like there's got to be a way we can kind of just make a big old function to just say like, hey, let's render the game, and then if we're in a special state, let's just render the game, right? Like, let's just do all those things that we're currently doing in our play state, so that we don't have a bunch of huge render functions that all do the same thing. We can just have one game render that we defer every state machine's render to. And then we'll have access to both a unique init and a unique update for any given scripted event. And that's the big thing we need here. Yeah, I don't think the event dispatcher is gonna be able to do the trick. What's up, Loki? How's it going? Yeah, I mean, I think we might just need a crap ton of scripted events as their own state machines, because we kind of need this ability to. And then we can also, add specific things like a particle system for the opening cinematic or something. We can then define it in the init and then render it in the draw for the state machine itself, which is something our event handler just has no ability to do. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's see if we can add one state machine, and then working on your VPET project, getting it all set up for others to use. Oh, nice. Yo, when you get that all set up, share it in the Discord so we can see. Yeah, I think we're gonna give up on the event manager. I don't know though, because I mean, there's a way to do it. Yeah, we'd have to let's make a directory here called scripted events, or just events. Okay, and then let's make a test for the opening cinematic.lua, and we'll have to say yeah, I think we're gonna have to do something like this. So if we take a look at our render function, like I'm just gonna, oh my god. God dang, our freaking render function and our play state, we gotta clean this up. This is gross. Okay, let's just take it piece by piece and see what we might need in a render function for another state. So we're clearing the screen, we're rendering the scene view. We don't need this debug print in this state. We don't need a loot state in this state. Don't need a help in this state. Don't need a HUD in this state. Actually, yeah, we do need the HUD. And then inventory. Okay, that's the little spell in our hand. That's our current hearts. We probably don't need the transition because it's our own special thing. We don't need this. We don't need this. Okay, so essentially all we're doing is just rendering our scene view. So let's see if we can, instead of doing this event dispatch, let's just do a oh man, this is gross too, because if our state machine, if we need to change states for our state machine, we run this and we say change, and we change to, we need a string for whatever it's called so that we can change to it. And that means when we define our state machine, let's see, where is it? See, look at this, our global state machine. See, I don't think I like this. Because we'd have to do this for every different scripted event. Like, even if, so like if we say opening cinematic, and we would say that we're putting in a opening cinematic state here. This is gonna get gnarly. Okay, we need to require our quote-unquote opening cinematic, and it's in states. It's actually in events. Two seconds, and then we cannot call opening cinematic. Source events opening cinematic. That should be right. Maybe we did the wrong. Oh, we need a class. Okay, so let's see. 2 seconds go by, and we are technically in our opening cinematic state, which does not update the player. All it does is render the current scene view. So if we wanted to just prove that this is kind of separate, we can just say that we want to use the update function to go modify our test X by delta time. And then let's just, the last thing we do is just say love.graphics.print, and we're going to print up our text X, where we're going to print up the value of it. No, we're going to print up just anything. And the X is going to be test X, and then Y is going to be whatever. So now it should be updating over time. The state machine should handle the update, so after 2 seconds we should see hello, and it is a we'd have to define it outside like this. 1, 2. Nope, test X still nil value. Test X. Okay, so after 2 seconds, we should see hello, and it should move left, which it does based on delta time. So if we do it this way, you know, we would say trigger a different state for any scripted event. We have access to initialize variables, update them, and render them, as well as, you know, I guess the downsides to this is, the downside is like the more events we add, the more events need to kind of get loaded right off the bat. You know? What did we do? Yeah, I guess it's, you know, I don't know if it'll slow down the game a lot. Like if because in our main, one of the first things we do here is like define our state machines. And if we have 100 different scripted events, which I think is easily going to be happening, then we're kind of doing this, you know, we're returning all of this data for our whole game before we even change our state. So it's like, it feels overkill to me to have to like load all of these scripted cinematics into the state machine. So maybe maybe there's a way we can kind of, I think it's silly to me to have to load all the scripted events right there in the main, so I don't want to do that. So maybe there's a way we could, when we do, I don't know. You know, I'm thinking like we can have an event dispatcher that kind of puts the state machine in there as we trigger it, and then it becomes a state machine. But then I don't know. There's just so many room for error there for loading. I guess let's how would we test like? I kind of want to test like putting in 100 fake state machines, or defining them all in terms of this one state machine, and then just seeing how long it takes to load. I don't know. I don't like that this is in the main. Yeah, because I mean, I can easily imagine 100 scripted events. Then this state machine declaration will become 100 unique states with their own update logic, own render logic, own init logic. And we're kind of loading them and assigning them and returning them all before we even change our game to play state, you know. Regardless of how far we are in the game, it's kind of like going to be doing that. So it might be so fast it doesn't even matter. It might be so fast, it might be so fast it doesn't even matter. So I don't know. I think the game plan is I'll read about this a little bit and see if there's a better way of potentially doing this. I don't think I like this idea, but also it gives us everything we need, which is an init and an update and a render specific to whatever event we're in. So it might be the move. It just feels wrong to me. Yeah, maybe there's a smarter way to insert them, but also like there's more bugs if we kind of asynchronously load these instead of just declaring them right off the bat into this global state machine table. Yeah. Okay, well, we added... This is in our event manager. We added some stuff. We're probably going to remove this event manager. Yeah, I say let's remove this event manager and then clean up the opening cinematic dispatch, and then delete event manager. Yes. Okay. Let's look at our play state and see how we're triggering the cinematic. We have an event timer. Yeah, this is gross. This is fine for now. This is just for testing. But yeah, I guess next steps are going to be, I'm going to research, see if this makes most sense, having a state machine for all these scripted events. And then, you know, we still have to... I guess what's kind of cool about this is, like, for the state machine, we were saying how we have to kind of pass in all of this specific data, but that's not necessarily true because we have a scene view, which is a global variable, and a player, which is global, so we can just say, you know, we're always going to be rendering the current scene view with all the current tiles. We're always going to be rendering the player where it was because we didn't change it. But if we need to change it or change its animation, we can do that in the init and then render it exactly where it is, or give it specific walking logic that can update with delta time. So this could work. It's just I don't really like the messiness of thinking about importing the whole state machine at once there at the beginning of the main. Let's take a look one more time at our git diff. Why does this happen all the time? We took out our event manager. We added a new state for a cinematic. We're triggering it after 2 seconds. And then we're rendering an event test. We can get rid of this. Yeah, play state update, we can get rid of that. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a super productive day. We figured out how to pass delta time through the event trigger, but we need more complex behavior than just triggering the event, because we need to be able to update specific events over time and init with different values. So I'm kind of leaning towards the state machine for all scripted events. But I don't exactly know. Still kind of thinking about it. So this is a tough thing. And I screwed up our ability to run the opening cinema or the credits here. Okay, let's run credits. We'll call it a night. Hope everyone has a great Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's. And we'll find someone to raid here. Yo, thanks for hanging, K-Tron. Good to see ya. It looks like Odd Oculus is streaming. Big Boy Games. Kuju. We got a couple of peeps to choose from. We got Practical. You know what? We haven't rated Practical in a while. Let's go for it. Yo, thanks for hanging, Squinch. Appreciate you hanging. Yeah, sorry today wasn't more eventful, but you know, I'm eventful, pun intended, I guess. Still figuring it out. You know, I've never done anything like this. So yeah, I'll check it out, Squinch. That sounds good. Cool. We've got some raiders ready. So thanks for watching. Have a good rest of the day, y'all. Yeah, stay hydrated out there.
We do have to block the player somehow, though. I don't know how to do that. Or block this